morning, everyone. It's Carolyn from Homesteading Family, and I'm out here in the kitchen garden, and you can see we have a ton of greens. This is only one of multiple beds, and they are just filled with greens and lettuces and all sorts of delicious stuff, more than we can keep up with. And every morning here, Josh and I like to drink a kefir-based smoothie that we put some fresh greens in for our breakfast. But you know, come winter time, this is all gonna be under feet of snow, and there's not gonna be any fresh greens for us. So today I'm gonna show you how to take your delicious and abundant greens in the spring, summer, and fall and turn them into a super healthy, super green powder for your winter smoothies. So I'm going to harvest some of these greens right now, and then come on with me into the kitchen and I'll show you how I do it. All right, well, here we are with our greens in the kitchen, and we're ready to go ahead and process these. Now, I want to show you guys how easy this is. Because of the way we grow our greens, we don't generally have to wash them. They are close enough together and they're upright varieties, and so they don't get dirty in them, which is great. They're not laying in the garden soil, and so it just makes bringing them into the house and either making a salad or greens or dehydrating them so much easier. So if you can do that, great. But if you get your greens into your kitchen, or maybe you've bought them at the farmer's market or gathered them from a friend's house, or maybe you've even gone out and foraged some really good wild greens, then you're going to go ahead and want to wash them. Once you wash them, please go ahead and dry them thoroughly. It will really help your drying process if you get them all the way dried first. Otherwise, you're going to have to lay them out really thinly on your dehydrator trays, and that just takes too much time. Let me show you how easy this is to do. Now, I have a dehydrator that I use, and I know you're all going to ask, what variety, what name brand do you use for your dehydrator? And you know, my best answer to you is I use whatever I have. I do have an Excalibur, but please don't feel like you have to go buy some fancy dehydrator just to do this. If what you have is a little round, cheap yard sale find, use that. Use it until it dies. If you need to go get a dehydrator for other projects and for other things, I highly recommend the Excalibur. I've just absolutely loved it, and it's lasted me through very heavy use for about 12 years. But you don't even need to use a dehydrator for this project if you don't want to. You can dry these on a cookie sheet in a low oven, meaning as low as possible. And by that, I really mean like just with the pilot light on and the door cracked open a little bit to let moisture out, or with the light on in the oven. That alone will dry these just fine. If that's not a good option for you, then go ahead and go back and watch my video on drying your culinary herbs, just hang drying them, doing them, you know, out in the air, and this is the exact same. But if you have a dehydrator, this is really simple, because really all you do is just put them on like that. I don't spread them out, I leave them thick, and it doesn't take very long. Now, I do try to dry them at the lowest temperature setting possible, which means for me under 110 degrees. And the reason for that is when you keep them that low, you are keeping a lot of the vitamins alive that would be cooked out if you did it higher. So you don't want to cook your greens. You want to keep them in a nice low temperature if possible to dehydrate them. But you know, if you just don't have that option and what you have is an oven and you can't control it that much, or maybe just a standard dehydrator and it doesn't have a temperature control on it, these will still be really, really healthy for you in a smoothie in the winter. So don't give up the project just because you don't have the exact ideal way of doing it yet. Go ahead and keep going. Take advantage of of the nutrition that the greens do have to offer, even if the temperature is a little bit higher. Now I'm going to go ahead and put these back in the dehydrator on about 95 is my lower end of my setting. And they're only going to take 3-4 hours. So about halfway through, I'm going to go and I'm just going to kind of turn them over, because they'll kind of dry in a clump, I'm just gonna turn them over a little bit, fluff them up where I can, and then that's it. All I'm looking for is for them to get crispy. I want them to actually like crunch. Now, here are some that I've already done for you. Now, here's some that I've already done for you guys, and you can see how dry and brittle and crunchy and crumbly they are. Like, they snap, crackle, and pop. They are very dry, and that's just how you want them for this. It's really hard to make a powder out of anything with any moisture left. And so you want them all the way dry. In addition to being difficult to make a powder, they also will have a tendency to mold if there's any dampness left in them, and then all your work goes to waste. We don't want that. So make sure they're all the way dry. And you can see these have retained very, very nice color, and they will do so for quite a few months, especially if they're stored in the dark. In an airtight container. They will go ahead and keep that nice bright color that indicates that there is still a lot of nutrition in these guys. So we're going to go ahead and use the food processor for this one. If you have a blender, you can use that. If you don't have any of those things, you can go ahead and use mortar and pestle, or you can even just crumple it up in your hands if you want. Now I just am going to go ahead and break these guys small enough to go into the food processor. Stems and all. Did you see that, guys? There's a lot of nutrition in those stems. I did not de-stem these. You know, this is just one of the best no-fuss project. And have you guys looked at the cost of green powder lately? It is astronomically high, and I know every doctor, every health guru has their special blend. But the reality is something green in your diet is good for you. It doesn't have to have all sorts of special fermented and sprouted and probiotic and all this stuff to be good for you. The green alone is good for you. Now, of course, some of those other things are great for you too. But, you know, at that price, it's just not going to happen every month in my house. This, however, has cost me a few cents worth of seeds that I was growing for my greens anyways for the house. And it's just kind of the leftovers and the extras in the beds. So really, this is kind of a free byproduct of gardening. You can put all sorts of different greens in here. You could put in mustard greens. There's some lettuce in this mix. That's really nutritious. We don't tend to think of it as green aside from just for salad. You could harvest some dandelion greens, would be so good for you. Those are so incredibly nutritious. Kales, let's see, spinaches, chards, anything that you've got growing out in the garden. Now you do have to realize there are a few of those things that have pretty strong flavors. So, you know, I would be a little hesitant to put turnip greens in something that I'm gonna mix with some fruit, because it might just have too much of a bite. A lot of your mustards might be a little too strong too. So just think of the flavor profile and get as many different varieties into your super greens as possible, because that'll just fill out that nutrient profile. Okay, this will be a little loud, so hold on, but I'm just gonna go ahead and zip this up. All right, there we have it. I'm gonna let that dust dissipate for just a second. And ooh, look at all these good things. Now, you can use these greens when they're at their dehydrated stage before you powder them. You can use them right there and just crumple them right up and put them into a jar. Don't bother to powder them. And you can use them for soups in the winter. You can make a really nice kind of savory tea out of them that's very, very healthy. And, you know, I keep saying for the winter, and maybe your off season for greens is the summer, because it's so hot where you live that you have a hard time getting greens in the summertime. And, you know, just whenever you need that extra boost of nutrition, extra boost of greens, this is so easy because it's just sitting there waiting for you. And I love having that on hand. here it's winter that we have a hard time getting the fresh greens in, and so we really rely on some of these stored things that we've put up in the summer from our garden. All right, this is looking great. And boy, it is green and it smells green. It actually smells really good. And you can see, you know, there's not a lot in here for the bulk of the greens we started with. This was completely full. So it really does powder down really well. So think of how much amazing nutrition you are getting in maybe 1 tablespoon of this stuff when you put it into your smoothie. That's a lot of vegetables, and that is great. And you know, if you put it in decently small amounts, a tablespoon, a teaspoon, your kids won't even know it's there. So you can sneak a lot of nutrition into things like smoothies if you have kids who aren't so excited about eating your vegetables. All right, now, of course, we're gonna cover this. I didn't grab my lid like normal. So I'm gonna cover this with a storage lid. I'm gonna label it so I know exactly what it is, and I'm gonna put it in a, you know, just regular dark cabinet back in the back where it's not getting exposure to a lot of light. And I'm gonna keep filling this jar right on up through the summer and filling it up with these great greens, putting different greens in as they come in, mixing them all together, and then I am gonna have a great super greens powder for just a few cents for the whole winter to just add to my health and the nutrition of my family. Take care, guys. For more videos like these, sign up at www.homesteadingfamily.com. Also, follow along on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube.